Welcome to Soulful Conversations with Bithika Anand, exploring the person behind the lawyer. All of you will meet the who's who of the legal world with only one twist that we won't be discussing anything legal with them, digging deeper into their persona and exploring their true selves. I will encourage my guests today to introspect, look within, and speak with their inner voice. I'm also pleased to share that Bar and Bench, a renowned online platform, has happily come on board as media partners for this initiative, and they will be the official telecast partners for Soulful Conversations with Bithika Anand. Today, our guest is Dr. Sanjeev Gemawat, who is the Group General Counsel with Vedanta Group. He is a celebrated thought leader and is known for his strategic acumen and exemplary leadership. He has been part of various committees and delegations constituted by industry and professional bodies. He has been recognized as one of the top general counsels in India and has been inducted into Global Hall of Fame with his overall contribution to India. He is also the founding member of the General Counsel Association of India. Hello, good morning. Good morning, Sanjeev.
Good morning, Bithika. Thank you very much for the kind introduction, and thanks a lot for having me here.
And also very nice to, it's a real privilege to be doing this soulful conversation with you. So as you know, we will not be testing you on your legal acumen here, and we will be talking about you, you as a person. So I think we would like to know, how has your journey been, as a journey to becoming a general counsel, and what inspired you to pursue this career?
Well, Bithika, once again, thank you very much. I grew up in a different period. That period was, that was a period when, Indian economy was at a different level. There was no liberalization or globalization, which we are talking about for the last 3 decades or so. So it was a different period altogether. But then as a student, we were exposed to multiple literatures. And I used to read a lot about biographies. And I used to follow that also, incidentally, Bithika. At the age of 12, when I first read the biography of Mahatma Gandhi, I started, doing upvas also. So, that is how the whole journey started. But then I also did observe that most of the freedom fighters, politicians, thinkers, they were all from a legal background. And obviously because of that, that inspired me. My father was also, in a way, a legal professional. So that's all, added. But then, academically, I was reasonably a good student. I was always a rank holder. And I started doing multiple courses. I'm not too sure whether you are aware, I'm a chartered accountant, I'm company secretary, cost accountant. I have multiple.
Yes, I'm aware of that, but yeah, very interesting kind of
professional background. But then law as a discipline certainly intrigued me because it's a requisite to all businesses. Even during that period also, the law was a base for almost all businesses. And I thought that the thoughts of a lawyer starts when all other thoughts get stopped. This is how I treat law as a profession. But even, as a career also, if you notice, we appreciate, as lawyer, we appreciate things from the point of view of that, probably many people are, don't think about those kind of, issues. So this is how, it motivates me. Now, in that backdrop, Bithika, liberalization happened. Multinational companies started coming, early 90s onwards. The multiple avenues got opened at that point of time. And in that backdrop, when I got offers from business houses in terms of joining as a legal professional, that was the opportunity which I didn't want to miss. And then this whole process started, and I worked with almost most of the prominent organizations during that time and subsequently also, and enjoyed it thoroughly. So that's what, briefly my journey has been, Bithika.
Very interesting. So all the and also find, all the lawyers, they do either become a politician, and I've also observed that most politicians are lawyers. So somewhere I think, being with reading so early at the age of 12 and reading about Mahatma Gandhi and all these people, it has inspired you also in a way, and you have gone to this journey of being a general counsel. So I think it's a very related question. Next is your key values or principles that have guided you through this career. So you can tell us about that a bit. What are your guided values or principles?
Uh, Bithika, in a legal profession, and as a common law jurisdiction and common law country, we have a justice delivery system which is adversarial system. An adversarial system necessarily teaches us that there are views and counter views, and perhaps all views and counter views are equally important. They may be correct depending upon the perspectives of people, perspective of the parties, and so on. Now, in this base of this adversarial system, the basic principles which guided me throughout my professional career or personal behavior is the principles of, the basic principles of Jainism, which is Anekantvad and Syadvad. Anekantvad is a, doctrine, Bithika, which is a doctrine of manifold perspectives. And Syadvad is the doctrine which is of a conditioned viewpoint. Now, though they are the concepts or doctrines of, metaphysics or, metaphysical philosophy, but then they are equally important in terms of human behavior, human conduct, and the way in which we take things in terms of our decision-making process also. If you notice that, in most of the disputes, for example, we have views and counter views, and that is what the principle which we need to follow, because all views and counter views may be correct. But then that depends in terms of what kind of, background the issues are having and so on. Now, these two principles, Bithika, that guided me because that gave me a comprehensive management and behavioral kind of framework, and which addresses multiple issues in terms of I can encourage diverse views. I can be a good team leader in terms of in terms of appreciating their ideas. Also, you might have noticed that even at times small idea, a very basic idea that might also click at times. So you need to be encouraging all that kind of innovation. It also promotes empathy, in the team members and the people around us. It encourages flexibility in our approach because we are very open in terms of encouraging suggestions, views, and so on. And overall, if you notice that it enhances decision-making process, it enhances leadership style. And so I think these were the two basic principles which guided me throughout. And I think they're rightly so.
Very, very interesting how you have compared all these Jainism and all this, and how they have been basic principles on which you have worked, and it has been part of every aspect of your life is what I have gathered. So any individual who has obviously you have admired, or who has influenced your life? Anybody who you really admire or influence within the profession or outside the profession?
Well, Bithika, two people, I respect a lot, and they were the two great philosophers which India has produced in the 20th century. One is Gandhi, and the other is Osho. And both, gave me a tremendous amount of, the thoughts, views, and which guided me throughout also. For example, if you notice, Gandhi, by sheer his mental strength, his conviction, he led us to this freedom. Similarly, Osho, I have never seen a person which is so open, logical, rational in terms of all kinds of conduct, behavior, philosophies, and so on. And I still believe that these two great philosophers which India has produced, that has given guidance to many people, not only in India, throughout the world. So I think from an individual standpoint, I would say that they inspired me. They are the shining examples of genius and greatness. I would always, be getting inspired by these two individuals. Now, but then the inspirations are from multiple ways. I get inspiration from nature as well, because nature, nature is the thousands and millions of years, but then still it continues. It's the most resilient, it's most dynamic and everlasting and ever evolving kind of thing. And so that's nature is also another factor which inspires me a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, very right. I think I've also reached that stage in my life where I think nature is becoming more and more important, and tired of working in these walls. So very nice that all these things have kind of you have has influenced you. And then what do you enjoy being the general counsel, or what do you enjoy most being a general counsel and now a group general counsel? And also, what are your challenges? I think we'll take it in two parts, like what you enjoy being as a group general counsel, I would say now, not as a general counsel. And then what are the challenges that you have faced?
Well, Bithika, this general counsel's role has evolved over a period of time. In the last 2 decades or so, it has evolved like anything. And of course, I would still say that it has not seen the peak of this profession. We have not seen the peak of this profession. Peak is still to come. But as far as the enjoyment part is concerned, that strategic influence which general counsel can, give to the business, I think that is the most challenging part. That is the most enjoyable part. Now, what that strategic influence can be, that businesses operate in an ecosystem, and in that ecosystem, businesses are concerned about largely three things: that businesses should continue, there should not be any disruption, that business there should not be any reputational loss, or there should not be any financial obligation unnecessary. These are the three factors, and which are these three are the basis, where a general counsel can provide his strategic influence, his strategic guidance, and whether that be litigations to transactions and to business decisions and so on, and including compliances and all that. And that's the reason why normally I say that our role, besides this enjoyment part, our role is largely of a strategizer for the business. We are the enabler for the business, and we are the protector of the business. And that role inspires me, and I enjoy the most, in terms of that. This is what the role is, because it gives me an opportunity for continuation of the organization, in the times to come for posterity. Now, the second part is very interesting, Bithika. Second part is very interesting because the biggest challenge, the way in which I look at it, is that the whole legal and regulatory framework and the whole ecosystem in which we operate, or in which the businesses operate, I think that is the biggest challenge. Not only because that they are dynamic in nature, but inherently, the whole legal ecosystem is not a perfect system. It is an imperfect system. There are multiple variables, multiple people, and all that. And as a professional, we are, or our performance is dependent upon the action or inaction of someone whose priorities and understandings may be contrary to our priorities and understanding. So you are operating in that kind of ecosystem, and that is the most challenging part, I would say. And added to this challenge, Bithika, is that there are frequent changes in the policies of the government at times, and at the various levels of the ecosystem. Then there are vexatious and frivolous litigations. Those are major challenges because they impact the organization, they impact the businesses, and they create a huge amount of disruption, which is not good for the economy. And I think that those are the biggest challenges. Now, in this backdrop, business models are changing. We are on the fourth industrial revolution. There are so many challenges, issues in the times to come, and there is a more and more complexities, not only at the national level, at the global level. And there lies the role of the GC in terms of facing these challenges and to navigate all these challenges. So this is how I would say the enjoyment as well as the challenges also. Yeah.
Yeah, we have also seen a trend over a period of 10-15 years how general counsels or group, especially group general counsels, are now helping the businesses to grow, right? It was earlier they were just doing a job. And whenever I meet a general counsel or a group general counsel, I'm always telling them that you are now like a fee earner. So basically, when you're doing an M&A for a transaction, so the business is going to gain, right? So you are no more a back end business support function. So that has changed drastically over a period of time, and people like you who are very inherent and very integral to the business, and like you have just explained it to us. And what would your leadership style would be like? How do you define your leadership style, especially when you are a group general counsel, you are running a big team? So how would you, and I'm sure you are you are communicating with all others also. It's not only your team. You are obviously engaging a lot with the senior leadership of the company. So how would your leadership style change because of that, or is it the same? So any thoughts on that?
Well, Bithika, to be a successful leader, you need to be leading by example. So if I want to describe in 3 words what can be and what should be my style, I would say that it should be leadership by example only. But then you very rightly pointed out that when you are dealing with multiple issues, your leadership style will have to undergo a change in multiple ways as well. Though the underlying fundamental principle would always be leadership by example, but leadership, there are multiple ways of leading the team and leading the organization. And I think there lies, of course, the one's personality, how they deal with the situations, circumstances, and issues. Organization culture, which plays a very important role, and of course the specific challenges which one faces, and you will have to be adaptable to these kind of the personality traits, to organizational culture, to the specific challenges which the ecosystem provides, and
Correct.
accordingly we will have to change our style. But and when you say that how to deal with the situation in terms of leadership, I would say that fundamentally, as a general counsel, we will have to be following, apart from the multiple styles, that we need to be business oriented. It's a fundamental thing. Now, the business oriented, then the approach should be collaborative and strategic. The moment we follow these kind of principles, I think we get the answers, and we would be, successful leaders. Now, when I say business oriented, of course, the commercial acumen needs to be there in a general counsel. He should be a problem solver, not a problem creator. Or a problem presenter. He should have good negotiation skills. So these are the business-oriented kind of, the principles which we follow. And from a strategizer standpoint, of course, we need to be innovative. We are getting into a fourth industrial revolution. Technologies are impacting the businesses. Technologies are impacting the legal systems. So we need to be innovative in terms of our approach as well. We should be proactive and visionary to that extent. But then besides, Bithika, we operate in an ecosystem where there are multiple stakeholders.
Correct.
Bringing all those stakeholders on a common platform for a common vision, I think that is one of the biggest challenges with the GC.
Absolutely. Yes. That is, I understand. When we also compare, compare the legal practitioners or the legal practice with corporate, legal departments, or any comparison between the law firms and the corporates, this whole issue does come, especially when we do hiring, for corporates. So they do tell us that our environment is very different. So you will be interacting with various stakeholders, so the person should know how to manage and engage with them. Yeah. Yeah, that's really true what you have said. Now, what about any memorable event, which has kind of influenced you, or anything you want to share with us, which could be a happy, memorable, kind of an moment or experience or anything like that, which you remember in all these years also.
Well, Bithika, many last 3 decades, multiple experiences, many challenges, many success stories.
And also one that has impact on you. What is very important is that has an impact on you. Yeah.
Yeah. And so from an experiences and, from a, impact standpoint, there are multiple stories. But then if I want to share only one story, then I would say that, I think nearly 2 decades back, I was working as a GC of that British multinational called JCB. And that I remember very fondly, and that is what I want to share. Most of the other things, at a public platform, difficult to share because of the professional commitments and confidentiality. But that is one, I feel very, very proud of. I boast of that story. And Bithika, it was related with the land acquisition. Land acquisition near the existing plant. Land acquisition, through a court process, and a company which is already under bankruptcy, which was owning this particular land, that was under bankruptcy, and the court process was there. So now acquiring a land under the court process through that auction mechanism in itself was a very, very challenging task, because there are multiple stakeholders which would come in the courts and create confusions and so on. And they would be trying to negotiate and all that, so that kind of challenges. But the challenges were not limited to that process, Bithika. That particular land was encroached by multiple people, some ex-employees, some, ex-workers, and, many other people also. And it was a huge piece of land, which was very, very critical for JCB, because that was an adjoining plant to the existing facilities. And that was in Ballabgarh, Faridabad. Now, in that backdrop, when the land was encroached, when people have created multiple religious structures, when people have got that whole locality declared as a colony and got the ration cards issued and so on. Now, removal of that encroachment, even if you are successful in the bid process, ultimately you will have to use that land for that particular purpose for which you have acquired.
Yeah, correct.
Now, that particular, and that was, I am talking about 2002, 2003. And at that point of time, as a general counsel, I could have very well said that, no, it's my role gets over once I acquire the land. And, then the subsequent, processes can be done by, other functional departments and all that. But then I realized that my whole process of land acquisition would be futile unless I take that to a logical conclusion. So essentially, it means that you need to deal with the whole legal ecosystem, regulatory ecosystem, and administration ecosystem, from the government ecosystem and all that. And you need to institute, to initiate all those actions so that you are successful in terms of the whole process and come over from the, all those hurdles and everything. Now, just to cut a long story short, I think it was absolutely a mammoth task. And the learnings which I got is that, yes, you need to be having a passion, whatever you are doing. If you don't have a passion, you would never be successful. Second thing is, whatever you do, you need to take that to some logical conclusion, which is for the use of the organization for which you are working. And it also, taught me in terms of absolute strategic thinking, how to navigate all those challenges, how to deal with all legal complexities, and also balancing those ethical considerations, which is very important because you are when dealing with the multiple issues. But above all, also collaborating with the diverse teams and bringing that conviction in your team members also in terms of leading by example. Just think about it, if the whole police force is there and people are lying on the roads and that locality, that you cannot, demolish the structure. No, these were all challenging. You need to be leading by example. I think that has a profound impact on me from as a professional. That professional needs passion, and I think this is how we would be successful.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And also closing and, something coming out of it in a positive manner is, I think, important. And maybe you had worked so hard, you done it, but nothing came out of it. Also, also would not have been that great for you, but at least you could conclude it. And, dealing with multiple people with different thought processes, different professions, different kind of, coming from different society or level, and to deal with them and conclude it. So what another interesting thing I would like to know is that what would you have been if you were not, if like you're a lawyer now, what would you have been, if not a lawyer?
Well, Bithika, as for livelihood purposes, of course, since I have all the qualifications, I would have been a chartered accountant or a finance professional and so on, because of multiple options which were always available with me. From a multiple streams standpoint. In fact, I would have joined, government service also. I was selected for the Indian Company Law Service way back in 1997 also. So, but then I still preferred legal as a profession for my livelihood. But then if I just ignore the livelihood part, then perhaps I would say that my passion lies in history and archaeology, and I would have been, pursuing those kind of profession. But then since they are not that remunerative, I will have to stick to legal profession.
Yeah. So any hobbies, anything other than, working day and night? I'm assuming you're a passionate person. You like everything to do it, perfectly, almost perfect. So what do you do other than, loitering in your life? Any other hobbies you have?
Well, Bithika, the way in which we operate, I think we of course undergo a lot of stress at times, and Indians by nature, we are very infamous all over the world as workaholics, and that tag would continue with we Indians. But then in this system also, we will have to maintain our physical and mental balance.
Correct.
And that is very necessary, because you can't cope up with all those circumstances, situation, unless you have these balance. So I, of course, leading is my passion. I always lead. Particularly, my interest lies in history, philosophy, and religious texts and all that. So leading is one. But then I also give sufficient time to myself in terms of 60 to 90 minutes kind of routine, in terms of running, walking, long walks, meditation, pranayam, and so on. But then besides this, I also, enjoy in terms of, and you might have noticed, I'm associated with many NLUs and many academic and, other institutions as well, in terms of delivering lectures or professional bodies and all that, doing research work and so on, so on. It is, one way of giving back to the, our community, in terms of sharing ideas, learning from them as well, enriching your knowledge base also. So this is how I continue enjoying all these kinds of activities, and above all, I think sharing your thoughts, communicating with people, encouraging ideas. I think this is how we keep ourselves going. Yeah.
Very, very. That way you can keep a bit of your work and life balance, I would say, considering we all work for 24/7. And any advice for the aspiring legal professionals? I'm sure they would love to hear you here, because of your incredible career that you've had. So I'm sure they would really look forward to hearing from you, what advice you have for these young legal professionals?
Well, Bithika, the single most mantra which I follow, and I think that all professionals, irrespective of whatever discipline they are pursuing, and particularly more relevant for legal professional, is that never stop learning, because life will never stop teaching to you. Life will always continue to teach you, and you will have to continue to learn. I think that is the biggest mantra which I follow. But then, of course, it also needs that passion and hard work and attention to detail, and particularly in a legal profession, if you are not having these kinds of traits, and also keeping abreast with the latest knowledge, I think, or latest developments in the system, I think these are all critical aspect. uh, but one more mantra I would like to say, and particularly for legal professionals, that never say no to anything, because keep all your doors open. You never know where you will find a solution, because in many times, Bithika, believe me, even wild ideas get sold. And that is the reason why if I, in your initial discussion, I said that I follow the principle of Anikantvad and Syadvad. So
Right.
I think never say no. You will always find one or the other solutions. Solution lies somewhere. One more thing which I would like to say, Bithika, and that is, just read a lot, contemplate a lot, and share a lot. And in the process, even if you have influenced one individual in your life positively, I think we have achieved our purpose. And I think this is how I would share my thoughts on this. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you totally because in my last interview also, I with Hindustan Times, I also told them that you think that you know it all and you don't want to share it, but you will be surprised how much the other people also know, and how with sharing there'll be definitely more and more learning. So,
Yes.
so maybe probably the last question, which you anyway have touched upon while we were having this wonderful conversation, it is about spirituality. Would you like to talk a bit on it? Though you have given, bits and pieces of it in your earlier conversation that we had today. So, I'd like to know if you
No, I
have.
think it's a great question, Bithika. And the spirituality, might mean, in multiple ways, in multiple meanings for multiple people. But then, for me personally speaking, it's just a deep understanding of our existence and purpose. I think that is where the spirituality lies, or a sense of connection to something greater than ourselves. So this is how I treat spirituality. Now, this self-reflection and spirituality experience, I take it from, as I mentioned to you, in terms of long walks, meditation, reading history, philosophy, visiting, most of the historical and ancient places. Bithika, just to tell you, I have visited, some of the most prominent places, say Angkor Wat in Cambodia, to Rakhigadi in Haryana, to Ajanta Ellora in Maharashtra, to Bhimbetka and Sanchi in Madhya Pradesh, to Banaras, or to Konark, or Udaygiri, Khandgiri in Odisha, and so on. So I have visited multiple places, and I take lots of inspiration, from a historical standpoint, from religious standpoint, and from a spiritual standpoint. And one more thing, Vitika, slightly perhaps strange, but then I find a lot of, spiritual thoughts in terms of by seeing fossils and stones of different kinds and periods. And that gives me a lot of relief that billions and millions of years, but then they have the history in themselves. They were witness to all that, evolution of humankind. I think this is how, I look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, I must say, we've already only seen you as a lawyer, and it's so interesting to know so much about you during this conversation. And it was just wonderful. And thank you so much, Sanjeev. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much, Bithika. Thank you very much for having me here. Thanks a lot.